All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. A question that has a lot of people scratching their heads all the time is, where is my money going? Many people know that they earn decent money, probably the most they've earned in their whole life. But many people also feel broke. They feel like they don't know where their money's going. They feel like they should have more of it, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Today we're talking about this exact topic, and I'm going to share some tips and some strategies as to how to work out where money's coming from and things to look out for to be able to ensure that every dollar that you bring in is being used as effectively as possible. So the first thing is, and I've said this many times before, but create a budget. Now, to create a budget, you need to figure out where your money's actually going. And there's different ways to actually track your spending. So one way to do it is to actually go through your bank, your card statement, and to essentially work out what you're spending your money on. A lot of internet banking websites let you extract all these transactions as an Excel sheet. If you're not as Excel minded or as Excel obsessed, an option is to use an app. There are plenty of tracking apps. Many banks through their internet banking allow you to actually track your spending as well. And the whole point of this is to categorize your spending in different areas. So essentially to work out what you're spending on food, what you're spending on shopping, what you're spending on bills. And this is going to be very, very important, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you a very good idea, first of all, as to where your money is actually going. What this normally creates is some awareness, because sometimes I'll talk to somebody about their living costs and they'll say, yes, we spend $200 a week on groceries, about $50 a week eating out, and $100 a month on clothes. But realistically, when they actually start looking at what they actually are spending through an app, or as I said, through the statements, or even through writing it down manually using a pen and paper, they actually find that they spend a lot more than they actually think. And whether it's more groceries, so it could be, most people do groceries once a week, but it's the shops in between. Sometimes it could be takeaway, eating out, getting food delivered to you, or even shopping. And many people only go to the shopping centers once or twice a month. But what about internet shopping? So there's all these things that add up, which many people don't actually realize. And when I'm talking to a couple, for example, not always, but in many cases, one person is aware of their spending and one person isn't. So it could be just one of you that isn't really aware of where the money is actually going personally. And that sometimes could literally just be because that particular person is more time poor than the other. Or maybe they're not very good at remembering where they spend their money. Or maybe they have more responsibilities than the other when it comes to financial spending around the house. So there's different reasons for that. But for that reason, it's really important to sit down together and talk about it as a couple, to actually pick each other's brains. Don't do everything you can to avoid arguments, and make it a constructive discussion, and make it as mature as possible and as productive as possible to be able to work out what is actually going on. So because when you have these discussions, it is very easy for one person to feel like the other person is attacking the other person, or criticizing, or even belittling the other. And this isn't what the discussion should feel like. It should feel productive. It should feel like, okay, you know what? Let's sit down together and figure out what's going on, because if we don't do it, no one's going to do it. Now, as a financial advisor, yes, I help people with these things all the time, and we sit down and we talk about strategies and tips. And, part of having an advisor is to have that accountability and to have that person there talking to you about these things, and also to making, someone that makes sure you're actually going to do it. But the other part of it as well is going to be to make sure that everything is being done properly, and that you're looking at all your bank accounts, and that, if you buy things with cash, which not many people do these days, but if you buy things with cash, maybe for this month, or two that you want to track your spending, maybe just stick to one account so that everything's in one place. So it just makes it a lot easier to track. When you've done that, your next goal is to look at your spending habits. So essentially to work out, okay, what do we literally spend on food every week? What do we spend on shopping? What do we spend on random things? What do we spend on bills? Because bills, I mean, you can change your bills by shopping for better, cheaper electricity deals or cancelling subscriptions that you don't need to be paying. But realistically, the majority of bills need to be there. You have to pay for your children's education. You have to pay for registration. You have to petrol. Normally, isn't that negotiable? There's insurances. That there are things. Yes, you can shop around for better deals, but at the end of the day, you have to pay them. But if you can do this exercise and look at these things and work out what are you actually spending your money on, what you then would do is to work out what do we need and what do we actually want. And this will help you work out what you can actually reduce. So as an example, when it comes to any budget, many people feel like a budget should be a representation of what they have spent in the past. But what it really should be is a goal or a target as to what you would like to spend on something. It should be, okay, we're spending $400 a week on food. I think we should make that $300. So it needs to be realistic. You can't be like, let's just drop it down to $100 and we'll stick to baked beans and Vegemite. It needs to be realistic, but it also needs to be something that you both agree on, that you think, yes, we can both do this. Let's try to do this. The other thing as well is to look for quick wins, like, as I said, cancelling subscriptions that you don't need to be paying for. I've talked about this before, but again, having Netflix, Stan, all these different things, if you don't watch many of them, if any of them, just cancel them. The other thing as well is look at these things and track them together, because this is going to be so important, because as a couple, when you sit down at the end of the month, you can be like, okay, we agreed to spend $300 a week on eating out. What did we actually spend? And if you've gone over, that's fine, as long as it's within reason and as long as A, you could afford to do it, and B, you both feel like it had to be done. So just to set this expectation as well, things are going to not go to plan. The plan is not going to always go to plan. And in fact, it rarely does, because things happen, life happens. But when you do this, you'll become more aware of your spending and more aware of where your money is actually going. And it's going to help you have this accountability with each other and in your relationship. And what you'll notice is that you'll stop spending money on things that you don't need to spend money on. You'll notice that you'll probably do it here and there, because we need to enjoy life as well and do things that we like to do. But at the same time, you are going to be more mindful of where your money is actually going. It's like being on a diet. If you're trying to watch what you eat and you're monitoring the amount of sugar that you have and the amount of carbs you have at night or whatever it may be, when you are more aware of it and when you're actually looking at what you're actually eating, you're less likely to have takeaway 4 or 5 times a week than if you didn't really track or even monitor what you're doing, and you have takeaway one night and then 2 nights later you just do it again because you're time poor, and then you do it again another day, and you do it 3 days later because you forgot that you did it during the week. So it's very similar to that, but it's a spending thing, and it's about tracking where it's going and being aware of what's actually going on. Now, a lot of what I've talked about are things that many people know they should probably do, but I know for a fact that lots and lots of people, as in literally millions of people in Australia, put it off because they don't like talking about it. They don't like discussing it. They don't even like thinking about it. No matter how financially stressed someone is, sometimes they're too scared, not scared, they get anxious just looking at their money, just looking at where their money's going. And that's literally the definition of putting your head in the sand. They won't look at these things. No matter how much they know they need to, they're going to ignore it. There are many people that have financial issues and they still do not feel comfortable sitting down looking at their expenses for one reason or another. This is very normal, and this is just something that we need to be aware of. Personally, I am a financial advisor and I talk about money all the time, and I'm aware of these behaviors, but there are things I hate looking at. For example, around the house, if something needs to be done, little bits and bobs that need to be fixed up, like we've got a door handle that's been broken in our house for 6 months. If there are things that I need to do, I don't even want to think about it because I'm too busy. It's one of those things, even just the thought of fixing this door handle, it gives me stress. So it's one of those things, if somebody doesn't like doing something, or if they just don't have the time, or they're prioritizing other things on top, it's very easy to not want to deal with it, or just to, as I said, literally put your head in the sand. But I cannot reiterate the importance of managing money, knowing where money is actually going, because this is literally the key to anyone's financial success. It's the foundation, knowing where money is actually going so that you can manage it as best as possible. So I hope today has sparked a few thoughts, and please reach out if I can help in any way, or if you have a financial advisor already, talk to your financial advisor, create some accountability, and start working out where your money is actually going. Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.